Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Conversations with a Psychic. I'm Kimmy, and as always, I'm here asking the questions you're probably already wondering about. Today, we're talking about something that can completely change the course of a person's life, a spiritual awakening. You may have heard the term before, but what does it actually mean? Is it something that happens only to certain people? Can it happen suddenly? Why does life sometimes seem to fall apart just before everything begins to make sense? If you've ever felt like you're changing, questioning everything, or seeing the world through new eyes, this episode is for you. We are Angels in Light, based in Kansas. I am Kimmy, the co founder of Angels in Light, and I'm an angelic Reiki master and a past life hypnotherapist.
And I'm Patti, a lifelong psychic medium with a master's in psychology and a mission to combine the esoteric with the science and help people ground that in reality. So, Kimmy, we've had a 3-week hiatus.
Yes.
It's good to be back on here and
Yes, it
continue
is.
on. I know. So, we had a big change and a big move, and we're in Kansas and we're starting everything. We're starting off the ground, doing our retreat center on our land and starting new retreats.
And we have a retreat coming up in Palm Springs in
We do. I know.
September 1st through the 8th.
So it's exciting stuff.
So, Patty, what exactly is a spiritual awakening?
That is such a big question. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that a spiritual awakening is one dramatic event where suddenly everything changes overnight. And it's not. So for some people, there may be a defining moment, but for most, it's a gradual unfolding. I know, like for you, for example, you said it was your whole life that just,
Exactly.
yeah, and that's the same for me. It's just questioning, having things, slowly come into your existence. A spiritual awakening is really an expansion of consciousness. It's when you begin seeing life differently. You start questioning beliefs you've held your entire life, and you become more aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships, and the world around you. And I've heard many, many people describe it as a feeling like they've been asleep and are finally waking up. And it's not
Mm.
that the world changes overnight, it's your perspective changes. And once your perspective changes, you can't go back to seeing life the way you did before.
No, you cannot. And then you
Mm-mm.
begin to see the world in new eyes.
You do.
Hmm.
And some people, again, it's gradual, and some people it is like a dramatic event. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. But for most, it's gradual. It's just learn something new, and then they take that trail, and it leads them to
Hmm.
somewhere else new, and it's just obtaining more and more information and getting out of being asleep.
Yes. Does something usually trigger it?
Yes. Sometimes it could be a beautiful experience, like becoming a parent or falling in love or having like a profound spiritual encounter. Um, like I've heard, people will visit spiritual places like Sedona or,
Mm.
go to a Buddhist temple and they'll meet someone that just completely shifts their perspective or have like an encounter. Or more often, awakenings begin during life's biggest challenges. And that's a hard one. So the loss of a loved one, a divorce, like, or being seriously ill, or
Hmm.
simply reaching a point where the life you built no longer feels authentic. And that one's important. So I've found a lot of people one day they're just sitting there, and this actually happened to me in my 20s. I was working a job at a mortgage company, And I was looking around, and every person that I worked with looked so unhappy.
Mm.
And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be unhappy for the rest of my life. And I just literally walked out of the office. Yeah. I stood up and I walked out. I
Oh
think I was
my
like
gosh, right there?
20. Yeah, I was young too.
Wow.
I was like 22. And that's when I went to, hairdressing school and started that whole thing. But it can happen instantaneous like that, where you just look around your life one day and you said, I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, I don't like the people around me, I don't feel spiritually filled. I know a
Mm.
lot of people resonate with that one. And life has a way of gently nudging us towards growth, and if we don't
Yes.
listen, those nudges sometimes get louder and they'll get louder until
Mm-hmm.
something happens that forces us to stop and ask, is there more to life than this? And they're like knocking at the door, like, hello, we're here to help. You need to
Mm-hmm.
grow. If you become stagnant
Mm-hmm.
and resistant to change, life will
Mm-hmm.
change dramatically if you don't go with the flow. It's
Exactly.
like a
And
dam. Like water is just keeps building up on that dam and it's building and building and building, and all of a sudden the dam will burst.
mm-hmm.
The doorway to awakening.
So if you don't see those subtle nudges, they might just push you off your bicycle, like it happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. When you fell.
Yes.
Yeah. And those chain of events too. It's funny when you look back on your life, like
Yes.
what happened with you? You fell and you broke your arm, right?
Yes. Broke my arm. I
And then where
started
did that lead?
questioning whether or not I could continue doing massage therapy. And while my arm was healing, I decided to explore some other healing modalities. And that's when I discovered Dolores Cannon's QHHT, which then led me to completing her program to a level two past life hypnotherapist. Just from there, other things evolved as well.
So it could be just random things like that. You fell, your bike fell, you broke your arm, and it completely shifted your whole trajectory of where you're meant to go.
Completely.
Isn't that interesting? I know. I find it fascinating. When I listen to
Mhm.
people's stories about how they came to be where they are, you're just like, huh.
One of my favorite games is to reflect back on the path that led me to where I am today.
Mhm.
And that leads to trusting, just
If you
surrender
feel
and
nudged
trust.
to go in a
Mhm.
certain direction,
Mhm.
don't resist it
Exactly.
because it's probably going to happen. You may delay it for a few years, but it's going to happen anyways.
You can either take the straight path or the very crooked path. And we all take the crooked path because that's where we learn more.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. You
Not
still
at
get
all.
there.
It'd be pretty boring to take the straight path, don't you think?
Hmm.
So I've heard so many people say that right before they experience an awakening, it felt like everything in their life was falling apart. Why does that happen?
So, like we were saying before, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it's like the water building up on the dam.
Mm-hmm.
Awakening isn't just about discovering something new. So everyone thinks like, oh, I had a spiritual awakening and it's all fun and games and I'm discovering all this new stuff, which it can be. Yes, a big part of that is fun, but also it's about letting go what no longer fits in your life. So,
Yes.
sometimes we built our lives around expectations from other people, what you're supposed to do, fear, or who we thought we were supposed to be. And it's being in the program. It's being in, you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have children, you're supposed to have a 9 to 5 job.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's what you were literally raised to do. And anyone who bucks against that is viewed as an outcast. So people get stuck in these lives and they're very unhappy and they're very, without realizing it. So when something big happens, and we grow, those things begin to fall away naturally. But it feels like your life's falling apart. So that means like leaving a career that no longer fulfills you, friendships naturally drifting apart that weren't good for your highest good, setting
Mm-hmm.
healthier boundaries with family. It can feel scary because we're losing what feels familiar. And so a lot of people are saying this doesn't feel good, and it doesn't in the moment. But once those things fall away, you are going to be so more aligned with who you truly are and were meant to be without all the construction of, the life that you thought you had to have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about everything falling apart, it's about everything falling into place, which I think is really neat.
Right. The tough part is all the changes that happens, like you were saying, the friendships dropping.
Hmm.
And I've heard a lot of people express that long-term friendships don't align
Yeah.
with their life anymore. And
Well, because they're not growing with you. So when you're elevating and you're spiritually growing, and if people around you aren't,
mm-hmm,
it's not going to work. It's going to fall, not just, you're not going to align with them. You're not
mm-hmm,
going to have the same interests or the same fun. And it's okay. That's completely
right.
okay. Thank you too.
And it's amazing how they can just naturally drop away. It's not like something drastic has to happen, like, I don't like you anymore. Let's
A
not
big
be
blow
friends.
up fight or, yeah.
Yeah, nothing. It doesn't have to end like that. It's just, all of a sudden you don't think of them when you're wanting to go do something. And it just slowly, the gap gets wider between you and that person, whether it's
Mhm.
family member or a friend.
Yeah. Because you're at a different frequency. And just like magnets, if your frequency is not the same, you're going to push it away and attract
Mm-hmm.
the same frequency that you're becoming. So just because you're losing all these people and your families and your careers and you're losing all this stuff, which is very scary. As soon as that's gone and your energy and your space is clear, you're going to start attracting that much more, if not more,
Exactly.
which can be freaking amazing. Because then you're like,
Yeah.
I've been dead my whole life?
So I did have to pull up those rude behaviors all these years. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't have any boundaries or I didn't have any,
Right.
you see a lot of the wounds and a lot of the things that you put up with that you would never put up with now. And you're sitting there
That
going,
is
why?
such a great point. Yes, exactly. You begin to see more, not judgy, not whatsoever, but you see more of behavior that doesn't align with yours anymore.
Yeah. That's also a painful process because it can be easily done where you kind of self judge yourself and be hard on yourself. Like, why did I not choose this earlier or put up with so much? But those are all just lessons. Those are all things you had to do to become the person you are today.
So congratulate yourself.
Yes. Instead of being hard on yourself, congratulate yourself.
Because not everyone can do
You
that.
made it through.
Exactly. You made it through the first level.
Uh-huh.
So people often talk about something called the dark night of the soul. What is that?
It is not a punishment. It's not a sign that you failed. So the dark night of the soul is, and it's not just a dark night. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just quick and easy. It can last for months. It can last for years. It's something that you kind of have, I know, kind of have to go through it. It's difficult. And it's a process that creates space for healing. So it's looking honestly at your fears, your wounds, your patterns that you've carried for years and letting it go. And you may feel disconnected. You may feel questioning everything you once believed. It's where your old identity dissolves and you get rid of it and you're becoming someone new. So I like to describe it as like the caterpillar turning to the butterfly. So
Mm.
when that happens, the caterpillar, it's not like this beautiful thing. It literally dissolves. Did you know that? It dissolves into like this mushy heap
Mm.
pile. Yeah, in the
Mm.
cocoon. It becomes this like goo. And that's a lot what it's like.
Uh,
You have to break yourself down to become a new person. And it's not
mhm.
fun.
No.
It's not. It's uncomfortable. It's really difficult, but it can become one of the most transformative experiences of a person's life. And so just stick with it. If you're going through one, you'll resonate with what I'm saying, and it's not easy. And you can have multiple at multiple different times,
Yes.
not just one. It's
Yes.
different stages of your life where you have to heal wounds, you have to heal patterns and heal yourself so you can become a better person. That's basically what that is.
Hmm. Going within, deep
Yeah.
within yourself, and doing some very powerful healing.
Yeah. And becoming the caterpillar goo so can
Hmm.
become a butterfly, breaking yourself down. It's takes a lot of strength to do that. Not everyone can do it. And so if you've done
No.
it or if you're in the process, I give you kudos because it's hard. You're a very strong person.
And you're not losing your mind. You're
No,
finding
you're
it.
not going
You're
crazy.
finding it. Hmm. Yeah, you're
You know,
not losing it.
mm-mm.
What are some of the signs that someone might be going through a spiritual awakening without realizing it?
So some of the signs, there are many, and not everyone experiences them the same way. But when the first major one is you begin questioning everything. You look around your life and you're like, why is this way? Why, I mean, and it could be
Hmm.
little things like you question government, you question things that you want to question, authority, things you wouldn't have
Hmm.
questioned before because you just accept it.
Hmm.
That's how the world works. That's how it is. But when you start questioning, why things are the way they are, that's when you know you might be experiencing an awakening. I know a lot of people experienced awakenings during, COVID. And I think it's because they start questioning why the world was the way it was. And then they start questioning themselves. And a lot of people had a lot of awakenings at that time because of that.
Exactly. Why are we going into the office 5 days a
Mhm.
week, long hours, if it can be done so I can be home with my family?
Yeah. Why are the police the way they are? Why do we have all the constructs like racism and
Mm.
sexism, and it made people question a lot. Being home, not having to be, in the construct that was for so long, your parents did it, their parents did it, and you were expected
Mm-hmm.
to do it. And all of a sudden everything was abruptly upended.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it reset a lot of people. So some of the other stuff is your intuition becomes stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You're noticing and listening to signs in your body or signs, that you see out and about. You might notice repeating numbers or coincidences, like signs like that. Dreams may become more vivid. You feel drawn towards spirituality, meditation, or learning about consciousness. And then you become more sensitive to other people's emotions or to crowded environments. I've heard that a lot too. Crowds, that you would have been fine in before, like going to a
Mm-hmm.
concert or parade. People were like, oh, I was fine, doing that when I was younger. And then all of a sudden you're not.
Yes. 8 o'clock on a Friday night sounds at home sounds just wonderful.
And then some people suddenly lose interest in things they once loved, which
Mm-hmm.
is okay. If you once loved doing a certain thing, like going out on Friday nights at 10 o'clock, and all of a sudden you're like, no, that is, no, I once loved it, but I cannot anymore.
Can't do it.
Mhm. And then others develop a deep appreciation for nature, silence, or just sitting alone. Like they're okay. That's another sign. They're okay being alone. A lot of people aren't
Mm-hmm.
okay being alone. And I think it's because
That's
they have a hard time
mhm.
sitting with themselves and
Yes.
because they haven't looked at themselves or refused to. But
Mm-hmm.
once you're okay being by yourself and looking at yourself, that if you know you're on the path, you're more than along the path.
One thing I've heard a lot is that friendships and relationships change during an awakening. I know we touched on this some already, but why is that?
Because we're changing.
That's right.
Yeah. And as we grow, our priorities change. So sometimes the people who are meant to walk beside us during one chapter aren't meant to continue into the next. And that doesn't make anyone wrong. Just,
Hmm.
just because you're having an awakening and you're found the spiritual life doesn't mean you have to judge other people for not. It just
Right.
means that, you're just growing in different directions. And that's
Hmm.
completely fine.
Exactly. We
So,
all go at our own pace.
exactly.
Hmm.
And new people begin entering our lives who support the person we're becoming. And it doesn't mean the old people wouldn't support it. It's just the understanding and the frequency is different. And that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It simply means you're growing in different directions.
Hmm.
If one's better than the other. It's just different.
Does everyone have a spiritual awakening?
I believe everyone is on their own unique journey. And so for some, it happens early in life. For some, it happens over and over. And for some, it happens a lot later in life. But eventually, to some degree, I believe most people by the time they, get elderly, everyone's different. So
Hmm.
every soul goes at its own pace, and that's completely fine. It may happen sooner for some, later than some. I mean, there are instances where it's not going to happen, like if someone a mental issue like narcissism or something like that, that's more than likely not going to happen, and that's okay. They pick that for a reason.
Hmm.
But yes, most people will have a spiritual awakening.
If someone's listening feels like they're in the middle of all of this, what advice would you give them?
That's a good question. First, be gentle with yourself. You don't have to have all the answers today. Spend time in nature. That's a big one. Nature is a natural remedy for any kind of spiritual awakening, any kind of dark night of the soul. Just getting out in nature, putting your feet in the grass or in the water, or just being around, hug a tree. Nature is the medicine. Um, you could journal your thoughts. You can meditate if that feels right for you. And find people who allow you to ask questions without judgment. That's a huge one. To have
That
the
is a huge
support.
one. Hmm.
Yeah. To have the support and, people that have already been through it and like, oh my gosh, I know what's going on. I commiserate with
Hmm.
you. I know it's happening. That helps so much to be able to talk about it so you don't feel like you're going crazy.
And that is so important because by doing that, you can find your people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Hmm.
One of the advice I would give is you don't have to feel like you have to convince anyone of your experiences. Like,
Hmm.
I've noticed some people, when they're having spiritual awakenings, they need to feel like they have to bring everybody else on board with them.
Yes.
Have you noticed that yourself?
I noticed that in people, they're so excited and they want to share everything, but they're just reading the cover of the book of
Mhm.
themselves.
Yes.
Hmm.
And it can be fun, like crystals and tarot cards, and
Oh,
there's a
yes.
lot of fun things to it,
Hmm. Hmm.
but everyone doesn't have to be on board with you. And
Right.
it's a very personal experience.
Very personal. Yes.
And so just keep it personal. Like you don't have to share everything that happens to you,
Mm-hmm.
besides, the ones you really trust,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to have a lot of people, unfortunately, who, you're crazy or I don't believe you or just negative about it. And that's okay. Just let
Mm-hmm.
them be on their own path, but you don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
completely share everything about your life.
Mm-hmm. And share as much as you feel comfortable sharing, because that might be a
Mhm.
little trigger for them to start thinking differently as well.
Like, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
little seeds, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to force anybody, like, oh, you
Do
have to believe this. No,
yeah,
we're
and
not, we're not that
belittle
way.
them. Right. No, absolutely not.
But most importantly, don't be afraid to let go of the version of yourself you've outgrown. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people try to hold on to the old version of themselves because that's what they're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And that hinders a lot. And it could take a long time to let that go. You're not, I mean, you look through your life and there's so many different versions of yourself. It's okay to let go of an old version, especially when you're having a spiritual awakening.
Let's say we had
It's
a
just a
hat for every
sign.
version of ourselves. How many hats would be hanging?
A lot for me.
I
I need a
like
whole
hats,
wall.
so I had to bring that up. So, Patty, if someone is listening, feels like they're waking up spiritually and maybe even feeling overwhelmed by it, what's the one thing you'd want them to remember?
I'd want them to know that they're not alone. So many people walk this path before them, and it's okay to question, it's okay to grow, it's okay to change your mind. That's a huge one. Just
Mm-hmm.
because you discovered all this doesn't mean that you're 100% correct. Like, in order to grow, you're going to have to change your mind. And a spiritual awakening is about becoming someone different. It's about remembering who you've always been underneath the fear, the expectations, and the conditioning. So that right there is this whole episode. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about becoming someone different. It's just remembering who you were,
Yes.
remembering your soul and what makes you happy and underneath all what society conditioned you to be. And that's
Right.
what deconstruction of the ego and the hurt and the pain and the years and years and years of, all this being put on you and just getting rid of that and healing it
Mm-hmm.
and becoming who you would have been if you didn't have all that put on you. And to trust yourself and be patient with yourself and know that even if the path feels uncertain, every step is leading you closer to a deeper understanding of who you truly are.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Conversation with the Psychic. If today's conversation resonated with you, we'd love to hear from you. Share your own spiritual awakening story in the comments, ask us your questions, and let us know what topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Until next time, keep an open heart, stay curious, and trust your journey.
And if this resonated with you, trust that your awareness is there for a reason. You just have to start listening to it. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.